In today's video, we're going to be taking a look, as always, at the upcoming pattern. There is plenty going on, especially in the central United States. We do have pretty persistent storminess, kind of just sparking up throughout this middle portion of the nation. It is, of course, that time of year where this becomes more and more common, especially in May. April's usually a pretty big month too, but May seems to be when we get these really consistent firing up of these thunderstorms across the middle of the nation. Quite a bit of this will be spreading further eastward as well, so we will see this moving up into kind of this Ohio Valley and deeper south area, and then even the East Coast at times. Kind of lowering in intensity as it continues to move eastward from that point, so keep that in mind. We do have a pretty interesting lift in the pattern here, so we have this kind of lifting off of the pattern right here, and then this descending pattern here right now. That is what we're dealing with, and this does create some instability in these areas when you have these different motions happening across the middle of the nation. Let's just see how everything progresses, because I want to move us towards this evening. And what we end up seeing is that there is a bit of a low here, very, very weak. We do end up seeing a cold front, something like this, warm front trying to extend up. So we're actually seeing a lot of this rising happening ahead of that cold front. Seeing something just like this, and then this cold air trying to pour in right behind everything that's going on here. So what we see is primarily by the time we're reaching this evening, these thunderstorms are going to be located over Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota as well. That's where we're going to see all of these storms firing up. But as we take a look back towards the northwest, we can see that there is still some storminess hanging out back there as well. So that is certainly going to be on the table here to be moving in pretty darn soon to a lot of these areas as well. This will all kind of move eastward also and just continue to bring this activity. Now, as we see by the time we're reaching Sunday afternoon here on May 7th, we can see that a lot of this storminess is moved into the eastern half of the nation overall. So we see some thunderstorms firing up down in these areas. I'm sure some of this happening in the Ohio Valley is also some storms. Thunderstorms, that is, because of the time of year. So we're just seeing some very interesting weather and pretty frequent thunderstorms depending on where you're at. This is becoming much more of a conductive pattern for that. We can see that the jet stream is elevating throughout most of the west to east here, so we see this really rising the further east you go. So there is some colder air in the area here for this area out west, and then we can see some warmer air really playing the most factor into this area. Just very warm, very humid here in the east. That is all happening even just this weekend. As we continue this towards Monday here, we can see things quiet down a little bit. We still see some of these thunderstorms around for the deeper south, the Gulf states, the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest. So we're seeing these thunderstorms continue for these areas, really just being a factor moving forward. As we just keep on going here, we can see that by Tuesday the 9th here, we can see another low entering into this Colorado area, which seems to be a common place for a lot of our bad severe weather events so far this year. We can already see that this is trying to have a little bit of a warm front, cold front complex here, which always kind of tends to amplify things. But really what ends up happening here, as you can see, is we see these storms fire up around it for these more central states, the Great Plains states, really, the middle of our nation here. That is going to be the end of that storm particularly. By the time we're reaching Wednesday the 10th, we see a much more major storm moving into the Rockies here. And it's going to kind of move over into, again, eastern Colorado here, become a much bigger low. And that is when we could see this next one take off here. So let's just see what happens with this. It becomes a 993, 997, 998. And it wants to go straight north from this point. But I think the biggest takeaway is you can clearly see a very strong warm front complex here and cold front right here. And this is going to lead towards really bad impacts to these areas: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana there. So we would be watching for very, very bad thunderstorms throughout all of these states. Potentially major severe weather as well would be a factor here. And that's going to be Thursday to Friday, the 11th into the 12th. By the time we're reaching the 13th here, Saturday, the low would be about right here. It's very, very weak by this point, though. We do see that this still has somewhat of a cold front here, and then this warm front up here. So probably still thunderstorms happening on a different axis here, but for New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa. Here we're just seeing all of these areas deal with a lot of thunderstorm and a lot of severe weather activity, unfortunately. Now, by Sunday here, this is going to be Sunday and a Monday, the 14th into the 15th. We do see some more storms firing up. Again, not really associated with a primary low, but we do see thunderstorms for the east here. So again, as we move closer and closer to summer, this is going to become more common. So we see in the east here, dealing with these thunderstorms there. And then also for the four corner states, interestingly enough, down through the south central United States, we're seeing bad thunderstorms as well here, especially Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. But some of these areas could have thunderstorms as far back as Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. Very, very dry and arid areas, potentially dealing with more thunderstorm activity than what's typical. We do see that this all kind of slips down. So we see this move down here. And then we kind of get this whole connected area of thunderstorms. So maybe just showers here for the Rockies. So we see the extension beginning there and then thunderstorms throughout the deeper south, the southeast, and even up into the portions of the mid-Atlantic, still dealing with thunderstorms by time we're reaching Monday into Tuesday, the 15th, into the 16th. This is all very interesting. I think this all looks very much so more stormy. And really, when we take a look here at the total precipitation, we see much less here along the eastern seaboard of California and the United States here. Gray is going to be practically no precipitation. Green is going to be about a tenth of an inch, half an inch. Blue's half an inch to an inch. Your yellow's an inch to 2 inches, and we hardly have any reds there. But we do see this extended area here for the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes here. So we see this pocket dealing with 2 to even 6 inches of precipitation perhaps there. And then same story down here for the deeper south. We're seeing some of this. Even these browns here for coastal Texas, going to be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. And then these areas in between are going to get a little bit of both storms and frequent thunderstorms over the next 10 days or so, especially as you head later and later on. And this is again an area of 2 to 6 inches. And even 6 to 10 here and anywhere where we're seeing browns or grays. So certainly a whole lot of activity here for the eastern 2/3 of the nation here for the most part. Total snowfall though, again, not really expecting anything here east of really the Rocky states. If we were to draw a line right here, this is really what separates the Rockies. Just like this, we can see that all of those states to the west of there is where there is snow. Anywhere east of here, outside of very far northern Maine, as you can see, we're expecting no snowfall at all. So the east is basically said and done from coast to the border here of the Rockies states. But for these Rocky states and all the mountainous states out west, we do still see some snowfall on the table. This could last just over the next 10 days. This could last towards the beginning of June. It just depends what temperature pattern we find ourselves in. But this is slowing down and will continue to slow down. So we will update you guys on that daily. As we take a look at the temperature pattern here, we see we're a little bit cooler in the east, but things are going to continue to warm up until we get to this very warm pattern here for Sunday, tomorrow, and Monday here. On the 8th, and then Tuesday we start to see a backdoor cold front move down the coast here, and this causes some cold air to trickle down the coast. We still see very cold out west here, so a negative PNA, and we have a lot of this rising motion here through the center of the nation. Now, as we continue this on, we see we move back into a warmer pattern by the time we're reaching Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. This ends on Monday. We get warm in the east all the way from that point all the way till Monday, Tuesday. That's going to be 15th, 16th time frame. And we get cold in the east, but this time around, it's not a backdoor cold front. It's actually the fact that we have a positive PNA here developed. This is forcing all the cold air to dive down into the eastern states. So we do cool back down. And that looks to be the pattern until the very end of the model run here on May 21st. We will take this with a grain of salt, but we're becoming more and more confident in this cold along the coast here. And then this cold here for the kind of south central states as well. And then very, very warm throughout the northern plains and out west here with more of a positive PNA type look. This seems to be the pattern we're going to find ourselves in from the 16th and beyond, and we don't really see an end to that yet. But if you tune in with us daily, we will be bringing you daily uploads where we will go over all of these things. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.